Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lounging with Lisa, the video series that has me lounging while coming at you with thoughts of the day. I did take a shower. I know it's a relief to humanity, especially my neighbor, since my mother lives east of me and the wind blows her way. Okay, I have news for you. Chuck E. Cheese, excuse me, I'm very sorry. Chuck E. Cheese, all one word, one of my subscribers, answered the question correctly about those lyrics. The question was, something on my screen. Oh well, whatever. The question was, who wrote the song with these lyrics? I knew someday you'd have a beautiful life. I knew you'd be a sun in someone else's sky, but why? Why can't it be mine? And the answer was Pearl Jam. The song is Black. He wants me to, of all things, which I love this challenge, I guess, or question, or he wanted me to make a video about Frank Zappa. What's the importance of Frank Zappa? Why? He said he noticed in comment sections and whatnot on the internet that the mention of Frank kind of brings smiles and interesting dialogue, and he sort of wanted to know, what is the story with Frank Zappa? Why is he important to some people of a certain age? Thank you, Chucky. Like old folks like me is what you mean. That was really thought-provoking and good. And in fact, my brother just called. Pardon me again. Glooby. My brother just called, and I said, oh my dear, of all things, how the hell do you explain Frank Zappa in 5 to 10 minutes? Really, I think Frank Zappa is somewhat of an enigma. Try to say that 3 times fast if you would look at my hair. Yeah, he's sort of a puzzle because, first and foremost, he was a musical genius. And, I don't throw around that word at all. I think I'd probably call the Carpenters musical geniuses, too. I have a wide variety of musical tastes. But he, in the true sense of the word, was a musical genius and challenged every member of his band over the years, various members, to really carry out some insane things that were almost humanly impossible. So that's musical genius is right up there. His instrument of choice was really the guitar, but he had kind of a interesting infatuation with, I guess for lack of a better word, various household items that made sounds, or things that you wouldn't really associate with being in a band that making sounds. And early on in his life, if you do some YouTube search for him, I think you won't be let down, Chuck E. Cheese. He was on one of those old-fashioned shows in black and white. I don't think it was Ed Sullivan. It might have been, where he took and played a bicycle musically. Okay, so musical genius, and not only, I mean, he's known kind of as a rock and roller, I guess, but he conducted orchestras. His orchestral work is really right up there, and it was renowned throughout the world. Also did some jazz albums, Jazz from Hell and stuff like that, a lot of instrumental work. Frank Zappa was almost the nightmare of some parents back in the day, because his lyrics could be, how can I put this delicately? Well, sexual. A lot of sexual lyrics and things like that. He was also very instrumental in speaking in front of Congress about that very thing. If you look up, Chucky, if you want to look up more, just type in Frank Zappa testifies before Congress. It was in 1985 when our dear sweet Tipper Gore and other people were trying to get the record companies to label, adult content and things like that. Frank Zappa was an absolutist in terms of free speech. He was in the mind that they're just words. They're just words. It's so funny you should ask me to do this, Chucky, because my son moved off to Florida back in April. He's 21. He's going to be 22 soon. And I told him, over the years, we've kind of followed the Frank Zappa parenting advice or whatever. And I told him, one of my last parting bits of advice to him was, get to know as much as you can about Frank Zappa. His quotes, Frank Zappa was so interesting. This is why I say he was an enigma in my mind, is that, he didn't, had kind of long hair, and, you pictured him, associated him with rock and roll and sex, drugs, and all that. The sex, I'm sure. But he was anti-establishment to the core. To the core. Yet, he didn't fit in with or want to be associated with the counter-revolution type people. The counterculture, I should say, the counterculture. Like, he didn't get stoned. He didn't get into the drug scene. His eyebrows raised quite a bit when he noticed that there was a trend leaning toward some of these... I have to get a sip of coffee. Sorry, excuse me. He was puzzled by some of the so-called hair bands, I think, of the 80s era. Like, how the men in the group would put on makeup and look girly, and he just didn't get that at all. And so several times he threw pigtails in his hair for an album cover. He was Frank Zappa was an equal opportunity offender, and that's why, really, if I believed in heroes, he would be one of them. Absolutely. And like I said about the anti-establishment, he did not trust politicians at all, and came up in a family that his father actually worked for the government, and I think the chemical industry, something to do with chemical warfare. I'm not sure exactly, although I read his autobiography. One of his quotes is, what is it? Oh, I always forget what this is. Politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex. Yes. So Frank Zappa, he made over 50 albums. Some of them were strictly instrumental. Some of them, he conducted orchestras across the land, well, across the globe, actually. And really, I got into him when I was 14, much to my mother's chagrin. And I don't know, he's just really been, I guess, almost a guru to some people. So that's probably why when you see the comments about him in the various comment sections, Chuck E. Cheese, that people they do get a smile over him, because in some way, I think everybody can find something about Frank Zappa that they find appealing. I've made total friends over him. Like my friend Judith M. Villeneuve of Maine, I had gone to a Dweezil Zappa concert, because Frank's dead. He died in 94, I believe. And Dweezil Zappa picked up, and I guess he did a tour called Zappa Plays Zappa. Now there's some legal ramifications with his using his family name, but that's all another story. And I went and saw that performance, one of them, over in Columbus, Ohio. And my friend Judy and I became friends over that. So I don't know what else to say about Frank. I mean, I like to keep my videos under 10 minutes, but there's such a gold mine of information and quotes from him. Something I always found to be kind of cute is in his autobiography, he said, even though he's considered to be a musical genius, and he is, absolutely, no question, some of the compositions he carried out were unbelievable. Look up The Black Page. Sometimes I think it's called The Black Page. It's for drummers. It's so full of notes that you can barely, the page looks black, hence the name. It's a very difficult, I guess, routine that his drummers would have to play. And he's also spawned other, people like Steve Vai is a very famous Frank Zappa, I guess, took him under his wing young. And Steve Vai is one of the best guitar players, really, on the earth right now. He had Ainsley Dunbar was a drummer with him. Oh my God, Terry Bozzio, a lot of people learned at the feet of Frank Zappa. But what the heck was I going to tell you to look up now? Something cute that even though he was a total musical genius, he admits this in his book, he was not able to sing and play the guitar at the same time. So I thought that was cute that he had that limitation. And then I, took note in his videos how he would, he wouldn't be singing or playing the guitar at the same time as singing. So that was interesting. Another sip. So Chucky, I hope that I helped you a little bit with your journey to Frank Zappa. I think what's neat about him is he's kind of was like, I don't know, politically speaking, a lot of people say he's libertarian. That might be true for some things, just like I say that I'm libertarian on some things. I don't think Frank Zappa could be pegged as any one political thing. He found the Republican Party to be extremely dangerous. The liberals drove him nuts, that kind of stuff. Almost like George Carlin kind of stuff. They shared similar views about that. So he warned people of the military-industrial complex. And one thing that he warned people through his one song called The Slime, was about television and how hideously controlling it can be, and how one of the lines is, I'm the tool of the government and industry too, but I am destined to rule and regulate you. Yeah, so check that song out, The Slime, and you'll see how that is really, I guess, pertinent to today's dialogue. Okay, well, Chucky, I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know your thoughts and feelings. And I know a lot of my viewers are Frank Zappa people, so chime in and give me your thoughts. And Chucky, I really recommend, like I did for my own son. Actually, I was older when I gave birth to him. You could be my kid. You said you're 32. I'm 53. I recommend that you really look into Frank Zappa and try to pick up on some of his quotes and his philosophy. I think it's everybody, if they did that, would be a better place, honestly. All right, Lounging with Lisa, the video series that has me lounging while coming at you with thoughts of the day.